I have to mention something about. Let me put the mic down. I gotta mention something about Afghanistan again. So the Taliban has taken over. Yesterday we had an attack on Kabul, and I will be going over that. Here's my thing here. So the U.S. is now worried about women's rights. Oh my God, the Taliban and women's rights. It's like they don't exist over there. Right. So here's my thing. The biggest thing I gotta say is the U.S. does not care about women's rights. I know a lot of you people that voted for Democrats are, but the Democrats, they're better than the Republicans because the Republicans don't care about women and the Democrats do. They don't. And I'll tell you why the Democrats don't care about women. Because in Afghanistan, in 1977, 1978, they had a socialist government. Just like Scandinavia, Canada, Sweden, England, Germany, France, New Zealand, Finland, Switzerland, Netherlands, all these countries have single-payer healthcare. Haiti, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iran, all these countries, they had socialist governments. And what did the U.S. do? 1953, they went into Iran and they overthrew it. 1978, they went into Afghanistan and overthrew it. 1960s, and a little bit of the 70s, they went into Vietnam and overthrew the socialist governments. Why is it that they did that, but they don't do it to the Scandinavian countries? Oh, because those countries are black and brown. But these other countries are basically white. So there's a bit of racism. But they overthrew the socialist government of Afghanistan in the 1970s. Well, the socialist government of that era was trying to improve women's rights. They're trying to improve women's rights. So if they cared about women's rights, they would say, hey, man, we keep this government in. But they didn't do that. Incredible. And that was under the Ford administration. Actually, it was under Carter. Isn't that incredible that Carter did that? Incredible. Now, here's the real kicker. If they cared about women's rights, if they really cared about women's rights, why is it that they were going over and toppling their schools? Why is it that Joe Biden just bombed a clinic and a hospital with kids and women in them? Why? If he cares about women so damn much, why did he kill all those women? Why did we go in toppling houses and markets and mosques and schools, just hospitals, the houses, everywhere, office buildings, everywhere in Afghanistan, there were women and children. And we just went in there and we slaughtered the crap out of them for 20 years. And yet they say, oh my God, the Taliban doesn't care about women. Could that be true? Maybe. But if we're talking about the U.S. and its hypocrisy, which there's a lot of course they don't care about women. Now, if they really cared about women, why aren't we going after Saudi Arabia? Saudi Arabia they're the United States' top ally. Why are we allies with Saudi Arabia? Not because we like them, but because of their money and their oil. That's all why, right? Like, so the biggest thing we see there is, it's funny how they're complaining about it, but we don't go after Saudi Arabia. What does Saudi Arabia do? Well, they behead women in the public square for sorcery, for adultery, for witchcraft, for everything. They don't let women drive. They don't let women get an education. They don't let women anything. So our top ally is horrible to women, mistreats women, doesn't give them enough rights, and yet, hey, we're still their ally. We're still not going to do anything about it. But we're going to complain about the Taliban. Okay, well, that makes no sense to me. Why aren't you going to go after your top ally? Because the truth is, you can sway your allies before your enemies. You can sway your allies before your enemies. So Saudi Arabia needs to be taken care of. Why aren't we going into Saudi Arabia and saying, hey, King Salman and Mohammed bin Salman, the son, piece of crap guy he is, crown prince who killed a journalist, Jamal Khashoggi, and Biden won't do anything about it, except bomb Syria for Saudi Arabian targets. Hello. He did that. What? Right? Why doesn't he go in and say, hey, you got to fix all these damn issues? And then they want to say that they want to, these imperialists want to complain about women's rights. Why? Jimmy Dore had a great idea. Why don't we get the military to come invade Los Angeles, Las Vegas, and everywhere in the country and go, I know, bro, invade. Oh, now you're mad about it, right? Okay. Why don't we get them to come in and provide health care for people? You know, you care about women. Why don't you take women off the streets? And Naeem mentions this point. Naeem Abul-Hal was on our show today or tomorrow, whenever I can get the clips ready. Why don't you get them in housing, and then so that you don't make them more vulnerable to sex work, to kidnapping, so all of that. They're, you know, right? They're in more comfortable, stable, quality housing. And then why don't you get them into a good jobs program, a good federal jobs guarantee, so that they can start paying into the local economy and providing for their kids. And then why don't you give them health care? Why don't we give our people health care? We got right? And then why don't we get them a livable minimum wage, a living wage of $15 an hour or higher? Why not? And why don't we get them a UBI of $1,000 a month, universal basic income? Obviously, the United States doesn't care. We've got every bridge in Vegas, every tunnel in Vegas under the glitz and glam of the casinos filled with homeless people. We've got every bridge in California, Democratic supermajority in California. And guess what? They still have homeless people under every bridge. Every bridge. And they do encampment raids and all of that. We have kids, women, and girls having billions of dollars in student debt altogether, all of them. We have like 6-point-something trillion dollars. I forget the math. That's how much, right? Why don't we get rid of that? You say you care about women, but you don't support the women of this country. Single moms are working at Waffle House for 12 hours with their kids there because they can't afford childcare and they can't afford to put food on the table. We've got grandmas who have to decide between, okay, well, do I pay the rent or do I get my medicine? Do I die or do I pay the landlord? Which one? You don't care about women's rights here in the United States. The United States government and military doesn't invade countries because they care about women's rights. My ass. They don't give a rat's ass. They don't give a crap about women's rights. So now to hear the imperialists, oh, women's rights. Don't listen to them because they never cared. And if they did, we'd stop invading these countries and we'd help everybody here at home instead.